They do say that their 911 system is experiencing normal call volume. So that is indeed very good news. So normal call volume when you have a tornado warning, that's what you want. You don't want to see it spike up. So that is for the warning that we have right up here that I'm going to zoom into, and that it now continues until 7:30. And once again, that information is coming from the emergency management at Montgomery County. So even though they have the warning, there are no reports of any damage, at least not right now. But need to take another warning for you into consideration that with the heavy rain that this is producing, the ground is really saturated. We saw it in Falls Church earlier this week. An old growth red oak tree fell on a gentleman's house, destroyed the house, and we're going to find a lot of that, especially come early tomorrow morning, if we see winds pick up. Some forecast models are showing 40 to 50 mile per hour winds come 3, 4, 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. At that point, the severe weather will be over with, but the ground will definitely be saturated with more rain on the way later this evening once the round of stronger storms moves on out of here. So watching it all closely, and I just want to give you one more look here, and we're going to wait for this warning right over now. At this point, it's mainly Prince George's County, because Fairfax, looking at this box here, it's firmly across the Potomac River, so not going to have any concerns there. But that's set to expire at 7:15. We're going to watch this expire to put everyone at ease in this area. About 75,000 people within this polygon. We call these shapes that you see a polygon, and that's put out by the National Weather Service for the tornado warning. It's going to expire in just about 30 seconds here, but once again, we have no reports of any rotation, no damage, nothing like that in Montgomery County. Fingers crossed we have the same in terms of what's going on right now in Prince George's County, but need to stress that if you are in the Fairfax County of Alexandria, you are in the clear, even though that warning has yet to expire, but it's going to come down in less than 10 seconds at this point. And we are going to continue to see waves of storminess continue. But look at that. So this is just updated. So here we are. One box is going to disappear. It's going to go away right now. There it is. And now we have that new tornado warning box that has just recalibrated, reshaped, or that polygon, like we like to call it. I'm going to query this for you, and I just want to get some fresh information for you on this. Tornado warning, west central Prince George's County, and that is now until 7:45. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Fort Washington, moving northeast at around 20 miles per hour. So not a terribly fast moving storm, but moving off toward the northeast around 20 miles per hour. And those storms, like I said, they have the potential to pack quite a bit of a punch. But the good news in terms of damage reports, we're just not getting anything like that, at least not right now. So that is a newly issued severe tornado warning, for Prince George's County. We still have one more tornado warning that is now beginning to, it looks like, move well off toward the north and east. Eventually, I wouldn't be surprised, perhaps over toward Ellicott City, which is in the Baltimore area. If you have friends or family over in Ellicott City, you could have them turn on Fox 45. They'll give you the latest information on that once it moves out of our viewing area. And then we have another warning right over here, over toward Marshall and Middleburg. And that's going to come up on the screen right there, and that is going to expire at just around 7:30. Looking for any live shots, maybe of the Capitol building, we can show folks what's going on out there. And to get a better view of what's going on, I'm going to switch this over here, over toward the camera that is right now over in Luray, and you wouldn't even think that we have any storminess that is out there. And we are going to see this, the clouds continue to move in, move out, and the more sun that we see, the better chance for perhaps some stronger storms that are out there. But this is our camera, our tower camera, lots of rain on the lens, and we are going to continue to watch all these storms. We'll head over to Mark. He's going to give us a brief update while I get some water.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm going to come tap in with you. I was doing a live stream on air right now. You can watch us live on Facebook and YouTube right now, so we're over there. I've got my eyes on this storm here, the southern Prince George's County storm, just to the pretty much right over Piscataway at this time. If you are watching from this area, safely, if you can, let us know what you're seeing there, because you're our best eyes in the field at this point. Otherwise, this is just radar indicated. And then we've also got our eyes up here towards the northern portion of Prince George's County, right approaching Laurel at this time. And I was just talking to somebody online that they're in Laurel in the third floor floor of a building and they asked if they should move to the lower level, I said, yes, you absolutely do. You need to make sure that you are taking your tornado precautions if you're in any one of these warnings here, because we don't have eyes on them yet. So we are not sure if they're producing tornadoes or not. We're just getting the radar signatures, which is why these warnings are in place. So just to the west of Laurel, about to cross the I-95 corridor. It's a Friday afternoon. Summer's out. A lot of people on the roads. If you're able to, hold off on your travels until we can get some of these storms to either weaken or just move out completely. And for sure, let's get these tornado warnings expired. So some good news there. Oh, it's still there. Let's see here. We want to get some damage report from Garrett, Maryland, coming in from Slack. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Otherwise, very active afternoon out there. And of course, it's not logged in. Okay, well, let's see.
All right, I'll help
we
you
go.
out here, Mark.
Yep. Okay, I got it here.
You got it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so here we are, and we are going to be looking at a newly formed tornado warning. And, you know, we had a tornado warning that just came down, it was recalibrated, and this is now for Fauquier, Loudoun, and Prince William counties. And this is until 7:45. So you can see that these storms, well, they are getting warned on. We have yet to get any confirmation. I'm looking on Slack, and in terms of the chances for, or I should say reports of damage, but we're not getting anything, at least not right now. And Mark, my computer just reset itself.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm going to have you go on
Yep.
very quickly.
All right.
Live television.
Yeah, live television, right? So the tornado warning that Steve was just talking about here is getting out of Fauquier County, moving towards the north and east, right towards Dulles. You see this little donut-looking thing right here. That's our radar sites, just right outside the walls, basically, of Dulles International Airport. And so if you're heading there, if you're watching from there, maybe start taking some shelter away from those windows. We know we got a lot of glass windows there at Dulles. Get away from those windows for sure, because as we've been mentioning all afternoon and evening now, we don't know if these tornadoes are actually on the ground. We're just getting the indication from radar, and the radar is telling us that, yeah, we got a little couplet showing again here. Excuse me, it's right. Let's see here. It looks like it's crossing right over 66 right now, moving out of Fauquier County into portions of Loudoun County. And other than that, Gainesville is right here. Marshall is just to the west, so hopefully we're getting just right in between right here, but it is going to be moving towards the north and east towards Dulles. That would be where there's a tornado on the ground, if there is one. But again, this is all just radar indicated. We don't have any eyes on the ground yet. But again, if you are watching and you're safely able to give us some pictures or any kind of information, make sure you're doing that via chime in or on Slack or Facebook or YouTube. You can help us out there. That's one of four. We have another one down towards King George County. This looks pretty weak in terms of rotation here as well. I've been continuing to watch the one into portions of southern Prince George's County. This has been showing some pretty tall signs of some radar indications here, moving right over Piscataway. This is a nice little town here, approaching 93,000 people in the path of this particular warning here. So Clinton now included in this warning, and if there is a tornado on the ground, it's right over Piscataway. Now these would be some very weak tornadoes. This is not a super tight couplet, but this is just the indication that we're getting from the National Weather Service and just from our own eyes that would be where a tornado is at this time. And regardless of all this, if you're not in a tornado warning, what I do want to make sure that we are emphasizing here is that we are under a tornado watch. And so that means that any one of these storms has the potential to become tornadic. And so that's why even if you're not in a warning, we got to make sure that we are taking these very seriously.
All right, so speaking of that tornado watch, we'll get an update on that for you. And right now, it hasn't changed its shape very much. However, I am still optimistic that parts of this will come down well ahead of schedule. It's set to come down for the metro area at midnight tonight, but you zoom in a little bit closer, all areas inside and around the Beltway under that watch until midnight tonight. And within that watch area, we could be looking at some stronger storms. But I should note that the farther west you go, that we're looking at less stronger or storms that are not quite as strong or severe. But in terms of the tornado warnings. We still have several that are active across the area right now, and that is going to be the trend as we head through, at least I would say, the next hour to hour and a half mark. They're not all going to stay in the same place, but we are going to see these storms that are going to continue to move away. Now, what's interesting here is that we'll widen this out, and we have one. I'm going to go through each tornado warning. A large viewing area we have. This one right here is well to the north and west of D.C., over into Berkeley and Morgan counties, not densely populated at all. This is now until 7:45. We'll scroll down a little bit and we'll show you another warning. And this warning here has been really interesting, Mark, because it is sort of ebb and flowed, and we've had multiple warnings follow this one cell over, almost feels like the past hour to hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And not moving terribly fast, 25, 30 miles per hour. They speed up, they slow down. And this one is for Fauquier, Loudoun, and Prince William County. And this will eventually, if it does hold together, and that's a big if, however, it's been doing so, it could impact more densely populated areas. And once again, these are just radar indicated tornado warnings. We have another tornado warning. This one was also reshaped. Before, it included parts of the Alexandria section of Fairfax. It now is firmly located within Maryland, and it includes Clinton, Piscataway, and Fort Washington, where the original rotation from this storm was seen. Now that you're in the clear for Fort Washington. So that indeed is definitely good news there. And just want to show you on our rotation map here, it looks like there's a little bit of rotation. Here we are 723 over toward Pleasant Springs and Thrift, if you're familiar with Thrift in Maryland. And but once again, Piscataway, it looks a whole lot better for you. So I'm optimistic about that this warning, once we see that warning come down, that we are going to see perhaps that this warning will extend maybe a little bit farther off toward the, here it is, toward Clinton, but eventually moving outside of our area. So hopefully that will be the case there. But, you know, what's interesting, Mark, is that, you know, these storms, because we have a lot of spin in the atmosphere right now, and, you know, some storms are moving due east, others are moving a little bit to the northeast, others are moving north, and that's with the spin of the atmosphere, and that's why we're getting multiple like tornadoes that are popping up. And, you know, it almost looks like hit or miss. And you look on here, and there's not a distinct line that we would normally see with a strong cold front. You see a line and then the strong storms that move through. For those who were here for the derecho, we had that line that zipped on through, and that was it. And that was it, nothing more. But this is an area of low pressure. It's off toward the north and west of us. It's spinning around, and eventually it's going to spin on out of here. And once that happens, come early tomorrow morning, Mark, that's when we think that some of the winds may make it down to the surface. And that's why we could be looking at perhaps 2 or 3 or 4 hours of very gusty winds. This is now, it seems like, before sunrise, where I saw some forecast trends showing upwards of 35, 40, 45 mile per hour winds for a short period of time. You say, oh, okay, that's not so bad, but with saturated grounds, it's problematic.
Well, and we just had the story earlier that we've been playing all day from Jay Korf, where we had a tree down over the last couple of days because of the saturated soil and some gusty winds. But here's what Steve is talking about. Notice how some of the storms, like down here towards the northern neck, King George County down here, have more of a northerly direction, whereas some of the storms out towards the west have more of an easterly. So that's that spin. Some of these storms are producing these radar indicated rotations out there, which is why we have the active tornado warnings across much of our area. Now, we can have rotation in the sky and not a tornado, but rotation in the sky typically leads to a tornado. So that's why we have these warnings in place. But just dotting the entire landscape here with lots of heavy thunderstorms and the tornado warnings that are out there as well. But notice the clearing line from about Winchester down towards Warrenton and Fredericksburg. After that, I believe the severe weather will start to come to an end, but then we'll be watching the threat for heavy rainfall overnight. And we've also got a flooding threat with this particular system. I'm going to move right over here and show you that after these storms, which have been forecasted to exit around 8 o'clock. So we're approaching that, and I do believe 8:30 we'll be starting to see the severe threat winding on down. But what we are also watching is the threat for some flash flooding. This is going to be a flood watch that started now at 7 p.m. and will go through much of the night until about 4 a.m. tomorrow. And that's when we expect some heavy rainfall throughout the overnight. And keep in mind, we've had almost 7 inches of rain across much of the area for the entire month of May. throw in additional 1 to 2 inches here tonight, and that could really cause some concerns, especially with the winds that we are forecasting for tomorrow morning, the saturated soils, and then it happening at night. It's going to be very difficult to see some of the water over the roads at nighttime. So if you happen to be driving tonight, maybe start to think about holding those off until the sun rises tomorrow, so you can at least see a little better. A lot of these areas, we've been in drought, so it's been a while since we've seen water over the roads in a lot of instances. So it just might catch you off guard, but this is also going to be part of the night that we're watching, is the flash flooding threats. And so far, Steve, the radar, the rainfall amounts have been decent, but these storms are moving, and that's some good news there in terms of the flash flooding threat.
You know, in terms of the flooding, I'm looking on here. I mean, we have our flood watch that remains in effect until 4 o'clock in the morning, and on top of that, we have a newly issued tornado warning. Once you know it, it's going to be interesting how many we actually calculate today in terms of warnings and how many have actually will materialize into anything at all. So that's what I also find equally interesting. But here's the latest for you. This one here, this one is now moving at only around 15 miles per hour, and it does include every areas only within Prince George's County over toward Brandywine and Rosaryville. And once again, this is moving not very fast at all to the northeast at about 15 miles per hour. So it's moving northeast, but it's more of an easterly component at this point. So eventually it may make its way over toward Dunkirk and over toward Bristol, but that's not a concern, at least not right now. I want to widen this out, and I'm going to just change my palette here and to show you what we're looking at. And you know, you go over here, and this is out of our viewing area. We talked about this earlier, and I just want to just stress here that just to the north of Laurel, some stronger storms moving on through. This will likely impact Ellicott City, and this will move out of our viewing area, but you can always get more information by going to Fox 45. They have live coverage also on these storms as they're going to impact parts of the Baltimore area. They're also under that tornado watch until midnight. So lots and lots of warnings out there, and we see often these double boxed warnings here. That's because we have one warning that's going to expire and then another warning that's going to take over. So this is sort of sensitive here when I plop it right there. So that's going to expire at 7:45. And I wouldn't be surprised if that comes down perhaps a little bit ahead of schedule. And then we have the second one that comes down at 8 o'clock, so 30 minutes to go. Long-lived, and the reason why this one is going to last a full 30 minutes is because it's not moving very fast, only at around 15 miles per hour. And that's definitely not a fast-moving weather maker. So off to the west of us, we'll check in on this cell right over here. This is going to expire at 7:45, parts of Fauquier and Loudoun and Prince William County. And once again, not looking at a huge population, at least, well, it should be a little bit higher than what we're seeing there, but definitely looking at that cell. Over toward Berryville and Winchester, you are now looking at some stronger storms. Nothing that's been warned on right now, but definitely worth watching closely as we head through the next hour or so. There's a live view looking at the U.S. Capitol. We've had quite a bit of rain inside the Beltway, but in terms of actual tornado warnings for the district or for Arlington or for Old Town Alexandria have largely been spared by the heavy rain and the strongest of the storms. Here we are looking at basically inside the Beltway, and those tornado warnings are outside of the Beltway, just to the south, and then off toward the north and east, and then off toward the west. But we are going to see coming up at 7:45 many of these cells that are going to begin to cancel out. Some good news here is that even though we have a lot of energy in the air and a lot of spinning in the atmosphere, is that it's not 2 o'clock in the afternoon, peak heating. You wouldn't think, here we are, it's end of May, how hot or how much can peak heating do with these bigger storms? It has a big impact. But the fact that we did have blue sky this morning and then those clouds rolled on in, I do believe that the clouds rolling in midday sort of helping to temper some of this down in terms of our severe weather. So we just lost a severe tornado warning that was part of Loudoun County. So that indeed is good news there, because here we are at 7:31. And now I'm looking at most of the storms that are pretty much at this point moving toward the east of the DC metro, or have that path that will take them out of the area and over into the Chesapeake Bay and over toward Baltimore. This right here is going to come down shortly, and we were talking, Mark and I, about, it's beach season, and a lot of folks want to get every minute at the beach that they can. If you are planning on leaving within the next hour or so, I would hold off. In fact, I would probably hold off until tomorrow morning. And the reason why is we have still quite a bit of rain to get through, and where we've had some of these gustier winds, could also be looking at some power outages. And we are going to see this trend that will continue for at least the next 6-7 hours, even though the warnings might not be quite as numerous as we have out there right now. I do want to look at some airport delays and see what I can find for us here. DCA is on a ground stop until at least 8 o'clock. So here we are at 7:33. And Dulles is now also on a ground stop due to thunderstorms, and their departure delay is now averaging about 75 minutes. And BWI is also on a ground stop. So not surprising, considering the storminess that's out there and the dynamics in the atmosphere, that the airports would be on ground stops at this point. And the one for Reagan National, because there are really not a ton of storms right over National, that's due to volume. So a very busy Friday travel evening as people try to get out of town or come into town. So once again, we are going to see these tornado warnings that are now sort of beginning to quiet down. There's been, a noticeable change over the last, I would say, 5 to 8 minutes in some of these warnings that have come down ahead of schedule. And this warning here that's just to the north of Laurel, that's now moving out of our viewing area, that's going to be out of here before you know it. And then we have these two warnings here. And what's interesting about this is that, the new warning box that they put in, most of the storm is not even within that warning box. So that one goes until 8 o'clock. And then we have that secondary, or the first one that came out, and that's going to highlight in white right there. And that is until 7:45. So about another 10 minutes. If you're in Clinton, Maryland right now, over toward Melwood, looking at those stronger storms. But once again, no reports that we have at this point of damage. I do want to take a look at our rotation map here and notice the darker blue, and you look at the legend, and there's really not a whole lot of rotation that we are detecting, at least not right now. Off toward the west, we did have some, to zoom in a little bit closer here. This is over toward Mountville and Middleburg. We had a little bit of rotation, but once again on the very, very, very weak side. And that is definitely good news in terms of hail. We did have a small hail risk, but there's really not a whole lot that's out there, at least not right now. Mark, you have an update for us?
Oh. Should probably put my IFB in.
Yep, why not?
Yeah. Okay. No, just the overall trend is that we're losing the fuel needed for these storms to continue, so that's good. So far, no confirmation that these tornadoes have actually hit the ground, so good news there. Just some very active thunderstorms moving through the area at this time. So. Let's just see if we have any updates on some of these warnings. So we're getting rid of most of them now. We still have the one for Prince George's County and a decently displayed hook here. So, but this has been the storm that's also been showing me the most rotation with reflectivity here. So this is going to be, if there's a tornado, this continues to show that couplet here of the rotating winds in the sky. So that's going to be something that we continue to watch. If you are in Prince George's County, south of Clinton, if you're seeing any kind of things going on outside, be safe. But also, if you can, safely give us some kind of confirmation or whatever you're seeing in this portion of Prince George's County, because this has been one of the most indicative storms of a tornado out there. I like to see the population going down, Steve. This was close to 100,000 people earlier, 24,000 now. And as far as we know, these have not hit the ground, so that's always good news there. The rotation parameters here.
Yeah, I have that on here right now on Max 2, and there's not a lot. And I just did a query of our storm reports across the area, and well to the west, mainly a little bit of wind, and I have yet to find one for the metro area or for southern Maryland. But the technology that we have today, we can look inside these storms, and we knew that it was going to be an active afternoon, evening, excuse me, and that's exactly what we have out there right now. But I'm looking here at the latest. Now we have brand new severe thunderstorm warnings, and this one right here just came out, and this is for parts of Jefferson and Loudoun counties, and tornado possible once again. That's when you see the red stripes, that indicates that there's the potential for a tornado, and we pay extra close attention to storms like that because the rotation could become more defined, and often we have a radar or a scan that scans the sky. It goes around and around, and you get one scan and there's some rotation, then it goes away, and then you get another scan and you get more rotation. So that's basically what we're looking at, the potential that not every scan as it circles around is getting the rotation or seeing that rotation, but when that rotation becomes a little bit more consistent, that's when you will often see a tornado warning issue that's Doppler radar indicated.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it's on the ground. It doesn't mean that it's not going to make it to the ground. It just means that Doppler radar has gone around several times. They have consistency that there could be a warning. Mark?
And this is that product you were showing about the local storm reports. Despite all the warnings we've had, we're looking clear in terms of official storm reports across the area. A storm report would look something like this here. So this is like a down tree into portions of West Virginia, down towards the south along I-81 Broadway. You've got some down trees there. And these come in pretty quickly. So again, the metro looking good, but this does not mean that we're in the clear just yet. We do have the storms that are moving through. We've had very saturated soils, and you throw in some gusty winds with any given thunderstorm, and it could bring down some tree limbs out there. So be very careful with that. We were just reporting all day today. One of our reporters, Jay Korf, has been out in a neighborhood where some trees fell down earlier this week. So
over in Falls Church.
Falls Church, yeah. So this is going to be something that we're watching now too, as these tornado warnings begin to expire, and we just watched the severe thunderstorms and the heavy rain that's going to be involved with some of these move on in. And I'm over here on my computer. I see myself on the monitor. I'm moving through. Yeah, I'm working over here. I'm just clicking through some of our products to show you more of what we're seeing out there. But for the most part, just some thunderstorms moving through it. And as far as I've been noticing too, Steve, in and around the Capitol Beltway, we've been scraping by with just some light to moderate rain.
Yeah, there has yet to be and I don't even want to say this because my mom would always say, poo-poo, don't say that because it's going to happen. Thankfully, nothing inside the Beltway. So great news there. So that is a positive sign. But, we do have several severe thunderstorm warnings that are now out there. And I'm going to this sort of hand off from the tornado warnings that we have and check out the thunderstorm warnings and to break them down for you, because there's still more action out there. And over toward Manassas and Warrenton, you can see the box that is shaded in white here, and that is a severe thunderstorm warning with winds upwards of 60 miles per hour. Manassas Park. It includes Culpeper, Fauquier, and Prince William counties. And this one also moving off toward the north and east. Head a little bit farther to the north. This is a big one. My goodness, a lot of real estate on that one. And that includes parts of Berkeley, Fairfax, Jefferson, Loudoun, and Washington counties. If you're watching us in Herndon, Leesburg, Martinsburg, Sterling, or Sugarland Run, looking at some heavier rain, some gustier winds, and there is a potential that radar indicated possible tornado. But once again, as I mentioned, when the radar goes around and it picks something up in terms of rotation, it goes around again, it doesn't pick it up, the consistency is just not there. But there's enough that there could be perhaps some rotation. And then over toward the Maryland and Pennsylvania border, up toward Hancock, of course, 70 is a very busy road for those of you who travel from DC to Pittsburgh or Cleveland on your way to Breezewood, everyone's favorite place on 270, looking at thunderstorms right now, but nothing that is now in terms of tornado warnings. But I do want to show you where the tornado warnings are.
Yeah, can you pull up the tornado warning for Luray, or close to Laurel, Maryland? I got the camera up here,
Yep, I have it right here. So
Yeah.
and that one, that one is also like ebb and flowed over the last hour or so. It started off in Silver Spring, and
Right.
then it sort of morphed and remorphed. And now I would not be surprised if this actually makes its way over toward Ellicott City with heavy, heavy rain. And you just think back of Ellicott City and the flooding they had many, many years ago. It
The
was
anniversary
a couple of times.
just passed, yeah.
Yeah, so watching that closely. Once again, WBFF up in Baltimore. If you have friends or family, might want to just give them heads up on that one to check that out. Then we have these two other cells or clusters that are warned on. We have this one right here that is highlighted in white in Prince George's County. It includes Rosaryville. And we'll zoom in a little bit closer. And, in terms of cities, I mean, it's just Rosaryville, or towns, I should say, and a few subdivisions, and not quite as densely populated. And then you go over toward Prince George's and Clinton, Maryland. And the good news over here, this looks a whole lot better in terms of, I mean, there's more that's on the way. But at least we are looking. I just want to see the movement on this.
And Steve, we were just talking earlier, it's almost a year to the day when we had actual confirmed tornadoes on the ground moving through our areas. So that's one of the main takeaways here is that this time last year, almost to the day, these tornado warnings had observed tags on them. And so thankfully, for the most part, these are only radar indicated. That doesn't mean that they're not producing some damaging winds and maybe a quick touchdown. But for the most part, we're not looking at these long track tornadoes that you would see in the Midwest, or even like what we saw again almost a year ago to the day. I believe it's June 4th, June 5th.
We had a tornado emergency.
Yeah, exactly.
That was one of my first ones, and I've been here a long time. You've been here a little bit shorter, but I mean, I thought, wow, we haven't seen that in a long time.
So just to kind of differentiate, if you were here last year for that, those clipped mostly Montgomery County and to portions of northern Prince George's County. So almost a similar setup, but in terms of confirmation on the ground, this is not the case. We just have radar indicated tornadoes indicating that some of these storms are rotating in the sky, and whether or not they are touching down has yet to be determined. But what we're seeing here as well is that there's a lot of rain with these. There's a lot of lightning with this, some heavy rainfall as well on top of some very saturated soil. So as these storms begin to wind down with their severity, it's the heavy rainfall that we'll be watching in the next several hours, because we are still watching the threat for some flash flooding tonight. We do have a flood watch that has gone into effect now until 4 a.m. tomorrow. So we'll watch and wait to see how much additional rainfall we see. But again, we've been talking, Steve, these storms are moving. So that's good. We don't like them to sit over a certain area for a long time. So like, I don't want to do what your mom said, but like we're okay right now is what is the main takeaway.
Yeah, and we do have a new warning that has just been issued on Max 2, and this is now for the northern neck. So a ways away, but still our viewing area technically. It includes Montrose and then counties of Richmond and Westmoreland, well south of southern Maryland. So our focus still continues to be on parts of Prince George's County, that cluster of heavy rain. And Mark, this is what we were talking about, is that the heavy rain might not necessarily be warned on with a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, but you see the yellows and the reds and the oranges. And I'm just going to go back in time here, and you can see how, look at that, how the heavy rain just goes and goes and goes on and on and on. And the problem that we're going to run into as we head through the next several hours, that we will get rid of the tornado warnings. That will be a good thing. And then we're going to then pick up pockets of moderate to heavy rain, and still have some active severe thunderstorm warnings that are out there. Do want to show you the latest for you with those severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm just going to click this over here. Give me 1 second. Here we go. And right now in the whole area, we have, in terms of our viewing area, we have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. One of them is really, really big. And it's this one right over here. And this is going to eventually impact, I want to get some cities, Brunswick, Leesburg, Round Hill, you are in the clear. Good news there. Berryville, you are in the clear, even though you're still under that warning. Leesburg, you're under it. And as mentioned, Dulles International Airport under a ground stop right now, and that is until 8:15. And my goodness, they have average delays of 75 minutes and increasing, according to the website. Reagan National has ground stop, but their delays are not quite as significant. And I'm looking at BWI, they have a ground stop due to tornado. So, or potential tornado, and that's the reason why BWI right now at this point is has that ground stop that's out there. Looks like we have Leesburg on our picture right now, the corner, and that is, of course, this is the cell that we're looking at right here on our radar, right under this storm, and that is going to be sort of under the influence of the heaviest rain and the potential for Doppler radar rotation. There's not a tornado warning there. It's this a severe thunderstorm warning. We have wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. And once again, if you're watching us over in Leesburg or Martinsburg, or Potomac Falls, you're in the path of all this. But I need to also stress that there's some good news. For those of you in Round Hill and in Middleburg, you are now looking at improving conditions. So that is indeed good news. But still have to get through all this, and that tornado watch does remain in effect. You can see it right here, a large area until midnight. And as mentioned, I do suspect that we are going to see parts of this come down ahead of schedule. I want to talk about rain totals for you right now, and I just want to get our rain over the last 6 hours, depending on location. And this is where we could be running into some problems later on tonight into early tomorrow morning, where some Doppler radar indicated rain total amounts just to the south of Fredericksburg. I'm just going to upwards of 2.5, 2 inches there, not quite as much, about an inch over into south of Fredericksburg, but this could become problematic as we head through the next several hours with the potential for some very gusty winds later on tonight. And then we have that very slow moving cell that moved through Montgomery County and Prince George's County. And if you look at the legend at the top, it shows anywhere between 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rain, and that's already on top of what has been a very, very, very saturated ground across the area, because we had an extremely wet month of May, which is drawing to a close, thank goodness. So let's give you a brief update as to what's going on out there right now. And in terms of our tornado warnings, we have 4 active warnings, and we'll put them on the side of the screen. Maybe we'll just take this full so people can walk up to their TV and maybe get a little closer view. And we are looking at a severe thunder. It's 7:49 right now, in case you don't have a clock nearby. We have tornado warning number 1 until 8 o'clock. That includes Howard and parts of Prince George's County. North Laurel and West Laurel are all under the warned area. We have another tornado warning until 8:15, so another 25 minutes to go for Anne Arundel, Prince George's, and Upper Marlboro. Third tornado warning until 8 o'clock. That includes Rosaryville, the city of, and Prince George's County. And then another one at 8:15. And that includes Charles and St. Mary's County in southern Maryland. Now, just because we're seeing these tornado warnings up here, we have yet to have anything that has been confirmed. I don't believe, I'm going to check with the National Weather Service right now to see if there's anything new here. And it appears no damage reports in Montgomery County, and they also said that their 911 call volume appears to be fairly normal for a Friday evening. So I take that as a fantastic sign as we head through the evening here, because Friday evenings, if they had a lot of calls, we know that there was a lot of damage, and we're just not seeing that, at least not right now. So at this point, I think we probably have had at least 10 to 15, I might be off by a couple, tornado warnings across the area. And that trend will begin to settle down as we head through the next hour or so. But we still have that tornado watch that remains in effect, and that is until midnight tonight. You know, the population under this whole watch area is over 6 million people. So it is a very large area, but the tornado warnings continue to pile on up. And we are going to watch these very closely. Southern Maryland and then over toward the northern neck, that is where we are looking at the stronger storms at least right now, and along with that very heavy rainfall. So heavy rainfall, that's going to become a bigger problem later on tonight as this pivots on out of here, and that's eventually going to happen. And we appreciate you joining us and watching along as we cover all these tornado warnings. And the timing is not ideal and on a Friday evening, but we are going to see a lot of these warnings continue to move on out of here, and we just need to get through the last batch of severe thunderstorm warnings that are just off to the west of us. Mark?
No, just monitoring that the strongest storms, the tornado warnings are moving out of the area, so that's some good news there. I think this one here into eastern portions of Montgomery County, northern Prince George's County, pretty much in the clear now. So this is mostly into Howard County, moving up towards Ellicott City, so be mindful of that. I know a lot of our area overlaps, so if you're traveling up towards Howard County, know people in Howard County, be very careful, make sure that they're aware of this. We have our sister station, WBFF, probably monitoring this as well. And then my eyes have been on this Prince George's County storm for quite a while, because not only is it the strongest, but it's one of the more active tornado warnings with a pretty high population, 12,000 people. You still want to make sure that you're taking this seriously, especially in areas along the Highway 50 corridor, Upper Marlboro. You're on the outer edges of this particular warning. But this has also been one of the storms that has been pretty consistently showing the notorious radar couplet here. These greens really close to the reds, indicating that these winds are rotating up in the sky. Whether or not they are producing a tornado warning or not is to be determined, but that's why we got to take this as there is one on the ground, because we don't know. We just see what's up in the sky at this time, and it's moving towards cities like Drury, Mount Calvert, just south and east now of Upper Marlboro. So this is something that you got to take very seriously. And again, whether or not it's on the ground, we have very heavy rainfall coming from this, a lot of lightning, and we are very saturated across the area. So it doesn't take much additional rainfall to cause some flash flooding concerns. So a lot of creeks, streams that tend to swell after heavy rainfall. Be mindful of those areas, especially the low water crossings as well, is going to be something that you have to watch for, because this is a pretty hefty thunderstorm. And I do think this is mostly moving now into portions of Anne Arundel County, getting National Weather Service at a flash flood warning now for Prince George's, Howard, and Montgomery County, Steve. So that's
so I do want to show you as we head over to Max 2, you know, the storm tracks, and this is a tool that we have, and it gives us an idea of like where these storms are moving. And you know, like an hour ago, some are moving north, and others are moving northeast. Others were moving east. Now they're a little bit more consistent, moving their way to the northeast, and that is good news, because that means we're getting this out of here. And that is what we definitely want to see as we head through the next hour or so, is to have things just settle down. But we are going to be looking at a lot of wet weather that is going to be across the area. So here is the latest, and I want to give the, I'm just going to call up the flooding reports here.
I've got the flash flood warning up over here on Max 3. 130.
There it is. Yep. So here it is. We'll head in a little bit closer. And once again, this is fringe in our area, but you know, this is a great reason why, if you're going to the beach, well, I'm like, hold off, because flash flood warnings mean that flooding is actually occurring. It doesn't mean necessarily that you have waves and waves of water. It just means that there have been some reports that perhaps some creeks are now beginning to get out of their banks, and some rivers are now swelling, but this is until 11 o'clock, and a flash flood means that it's actually happening. It's happening right now. It's not something that we're watching for or that we're warning you on. It's happening right now, and it includes, I mean, the area, even though it says it includes 131,000 people, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have 131,000 people who are all experiencing flash flooding right now. But Laurel, Savage, over toward Waterloo, also looking at that flash flooding. But good news, and I will say this is fantastic news, at least so far, is that with the slow-moving storms that we've had that have produced those tornado warnings and the severe thunderstorm warnings, that we don't have a significant amount of flood or high water alerts to share with you. And that's, I mean, good news, because some of these cells here are moving, I mean, so slow at like 15 miles per hour, and producing a good amount of rain. And thankfully, you know, some of these cells have been closer to, let's say, the Potomac River, where a lot of the runoff can just do that, just run off. But I do want to show you once again our tornado warnings. It looks like we have 4, and I'll just go over the 4 of them, and then we'll toss it back over to Mark with the look at the severe thunderstorm warnings, which we still have plenty of. So here's one here. It's going to expire. Good news here. I'm just looking at the clock, 8 o'clock in 3 minutes, and perhaps it's going to continue a little bit farther off toward the northeast, and that will be firmly out of our viewing area. At that point, we have another one that's going to expire at 8:15, Upper Marlboro, and this is going to eventually move over toward Shady Side. We have another one right here that's also going to expire at 8:15, but I have a feeling, I'm right there, 8 o'clock. So that's going to go away. So it looks like once we get through 3 minutes from now, Mark, we are going to just have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings in our viewing area. Nope, well, Montrose, Northern Neck, that's going to go until 8:15.
Well, and the Prince George's County tornado warning goes until 8:15,
Yep.
But that's about to cross over into Anne Arundel County. So Annapolis, Highway 50, be very mindful of this storm. All radar indicated at this time. Nothing has been confirmed. But I do want to point out some of these rainfall totals where we have that flash flood warning, which is pretty much the same area as this tornado warning, is that we do have radar estimates of up to about 3 inches of rainfall here. So this is exactly where that flash flood warning is. And look at some of these rainfall estimates, 2.6 inches in the last hour. So that's pretty impressive. That's why that flash flood warning is there. And as Steve mentioned, 131,000 people in this warning. Doesn't mean that everybody there is experiencing it, but it also just tells us there's a higher concentration of people here likely to be to run across some ponding on the roads, some swellings of the creeks and streams. That's just to the southwest of Savage, but even up along this here, you've got 2 inches almost due west of Dorsey, and right along I-95 just north of Savage is another 2-inch rainfall estimate. So again, very careful with your driving out there. It's a Friday evening. I know a lot of people want to get out and enjoy the evening. I think after we get through these storms, we're going to get a little bit of a break before the heavier rainfall that we're expecting later on tonight arrives. I do want to point out the severe thunderstorm warnings that Steve was talking about. These are approaching I-270 along Frederick County up in Montgomery County, and these have radar indications that it's possible, but no warning just yet. And basically what you want to take away from this is to continue to take all these seriously. We are all in a tornado watch, meaning that these could turn tornadic at any moment. So that's why we got to take these storms seriously, approaching the 270 corridor. We've been talking all evening, Steve. DC, the district in and around the Capitol Beltway, clear, just a few spotty showers, so that's some good news there. And even down towards Fairfax, we're looking pretty good. Just another spotty shower just due south of Fairfax City.
And I look at your radar, and you know, the good news is that our Futurecast, we have our many different, we talk about forecast trends and modeling, and modeling and forecast trends, not terribly conversational, I get that, but it's the tools that we use here every day, and it usually, when things work out correctly, gives us a good idea where we're going to see the strongest storms or the most snow or the heaviest rainfall. And modeling when it comes to hurricane and hurricane season officially begins, Mark, hard to believe, end of this weekend. So things are definitely coming. But you know, this right here is one of our forecast models, and it's a high resolution model. And here we are at 8 o'clock. And you know, I look at this, Mark, and I say, it's pretty good in terms of what's actually going on out there right now. And in terms of those stronger storms. And if there's any good news, if this trend continues, let's go to 9 o'clock. There are the showers, the storms. 10 o'clock, we begin to see an improvement. 11 o'clock, but there's more rain that's on the way. And even though we have more rain on the way, I'm not expecting to see severe weather that's going to move through the area as we head into early tomorrow morning. But what I do suspect that we very well could see are a good chance for some stronger wind gusts. And I just want to pull up this right here is a model using our ICAST for wind gusts. And they have settled down a degree, but look how they begin to pick up. And you know, if you have saturated grounds and old growth trees, wind gusts 30, 40 miles per hour, probably not going to be terribly helpful. That's one model. Here's another trend here in terms of the potential for wind gusts later on tonight. Well, that one's not populating correctly. And here are, and this one really caught my eye in terms of that as this all pulls away. This model here is our high resolution model, and I just showed you our Futurecast that's doing a really good job this hour of showing where the rain is and where those storms are located. And this wants to pull out at some point by 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning as the system scoots on out of here, a wind gust upwards of 40 to 50 miles per hour. That's going to stay breezy tomorrow as the system continues to move away from the area. So just something to keep an eye out on. And if you're watching us right now, clearly you have power. That is fantastic news. But you might want to just make sure that you perhaps have your a flashlight good to go, ready to go in terms of should the wind knock the power out. So let's go through this. We are now past 8 o'clock, and we lost quite a few tornado warnings, which I think is fantastic news. I'm sure all of you are very happy about that. And over toward Dunkirk, this is now moving out of our viewing area until 8:15, so about another 13 minutes to go. It includes a small portion of Anne Arundel, and I should say a small portion of Prince George's County until 8:15. This is all lifting off toward the east, not terribly fast, around 20 miles per hour. Allen's fresh in southern Maryland. You're in the clear. La Plata, you are in the clear. Good news there. And you know, I know a lot of folks with the big tornadoes that we've had in the past, it was almost 20 years ago, probably, I think more than that, over in Charles County. That was really impactful. But the good news is that at this point, this tornado warning is going to draw to a close at 8:15, and then over toward the northern neck, we still have that one tornado warning that eventually it's not going to have a huge impact on densely populated areas. Still have the severe thunderstorm warnings over toward Hagerstown and then Hancock. These are now until 8:30, at least the one that abuts Pennsylvania and Maryland. And we are looking at tornado possible. That's why you see the red hash marks, or the red lines moving through the polygons. We do call them polygons. Those are the boxes that the National Weather Service issues. They resize them, reshape them as storms progress. Sometimes the storms will eke out of their box, and then they have to reshape the box to recalibrate where the storm is expected to go. But a lot of action out there. And I do want to show you, I'm just going to pull up a different palette here, and we'll just go over those tornado warnings again in terms of the radar indicated tornado warnings that are out there. And once again, we have no confirmation of anything that is on the ground. I'm just going to check here to sunshine at Dulles. All right. Do we have a camera?
Yeah.
We're going to pull up a camera from Dulles, and it's hardly, you know, daylight hours are getting longer and longer. Yeah. Here's a pretty picture for you, and that's on max
1. Yeah.
So we have a little bit of sun over at Dulles, and in fact, I'm going to give you a little tour of some of our cameras out there. As you know, these tornado warnings are slowly drawing to a close, and at some point here, we are going to wrap this up, and we would love to have your social pictures sent to us to help us out. We would love to have that, and that would be fantastic. So if you have any damage, although we don't have reports of any damage, so that is indeed very, very good news. Mark?
Yep. Hold on. Over here on social. Let's see. Yeah, we're getting the clearing line, so that's lining up with our forecast. And I know that you mentioned that as we plan out the rest of our nights after this round of severe storms, we are going to be monitoring the wraparound moderate to heavy rainfall overnight. Could we see some heavy downpours? Yeah. Could we see 1 to 3 inches of rain? I'm not thinking so, Steve. You know, we'll of course need to make sure that we're being very careful tonight, especially on the roads. But these showers, these storms from this evening have been moving, so that's some good news. If these were sitting over the same areas over and over again, then we'd have some issues with some flooding. But at least this first round, isn't necessarily setting the stage for some major flash flooding concerns overnight. So that's something that we're going to have to continue to watch.
And also, perhaps I missed this. It does look like they have shaved off part of the severe thunderstorm watch.
Yeah.
I think when we were in our coverage with the warnings closer in, that we had parts of it shaved off. So Hagerstown, no longer under the tornado warning, or tornado watch, excuse me. And this area here,
the tornado watch has been shaved off, so that's some good news there.
And I do suspect, this area, like for the metro area, it's until midnight. I highly doubt that it's going to stick around, Mark, for another 4 hours.
Yeah, I think once this round of severe storms comes out, that will likely keep the tornado watch.
Oh, okay. Mark's mic is off. So.
I mic'd up twice over here, so
no worries.
Let's see. Getting some people chiming in. We've got, let's see.
So Mark is on StreamYard right now, and Mark, tell us briefly where you can find that video.
Yeah, I'm streaming right now on YouTube and Facebook. So if you just search at 7 News on either one of those platforms, you can watch us live there. And I'm on our web camera though, so you won't necessarily get the coverage that we're getting on air right now on Channel 7 and Channel 8, but I've been going back and forth here, talking to people, getting some reports in. We're getting just some wind out in Waldorf at this time, pouring rain in Martinsburg. That was about 20 minutes ago. Some lovely comments coming in from some people, but for the most part, just some helpful tips of people corroborating what we're seeing on radar, Steve.
Yeah, so we're going to. I mean, things are really starting to settle down, and I am going to say at this point that we are going to transcend off air.
Yeah. And
in terms of the tornado warnings that are moving away from the area, and you can see that many locations are already looking at your skies beginning to brighten. We are going to, of course, stay on StreamYard online at WJLA.com, and should we see additional warnings pop up that are going to impact densely populated areas over the district, or areas that have the potential for actually seeing a tornado on the ground, we will break back in. And we appreciate you watching and for sticking around. Our main goal here is to keep you safe. I know that our entire weather team wants to do that, but we're going to sign off for right now, and we will keep you updated.